Ready, my friend? Meeting will come to order. We're now holding a meeting of Upper Island Township Board of Commissioners, November 19, 2025. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have the roll call, please? Commissioner Walsh?
Present.
Commissioner Cochran?
Present.
Commissioner Martin, present. Commissioner Castranio?
Present.
Commissioner Fairchild? Present. All commissioners are present. And by way of announcements, I have nothing specific other than I warned you 2 months ago that winter was coming and it's starting to feel like it. With our meeting materials, we have the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting of October 15. I might mention that this meeting is being live streamed for those who wish to attend virtually. A recording of the meeting will also be made available afterward for anyone who cannot join us in real time. Any questions or comments on the October 15 minutes?
Move approval.
Second. Been moved in second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Are there any visitors that wish to speak on an item that is not on tonight's agenda? Has anyone signed up? Okay. Very well. Thank you. Who's that? Well, Mr. Mumper's here for Pennington, I assume.
Need down one of these.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Alexis. No one. Okay, thank you. Did we vote on the minutes? We did.
We voted on the minutes already.
All right, moving then to the consent agenda. We have the manager's reports, fire department, police, EMS, solicitor, rec department, and engineers, as well as bills to be considered for payment in the amount of $1,421,326.93. A financial security reduction for Autumn Chase PRD, financial security reduction for Autumn Chase Phase 10B, and a financial security release for Orchard Glen Phases 8 and 10A. Does anyone wish to deal with any of these items individually, or are you fine discussing them as a group? Hearing no requests, we'll look at the 5 items as an aggregate. Are there any questions or comments with regard to any of those items?
Move approval.
I have a couple
Is there a
comments.
second?
Oh, second
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Eric?
comments, but on the police report, I noticed there was they determined there was a speeding issue on Bumblebee Hollow Road.
Yes, that's correct. That was one of the studies we did in October.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the public aware of that was the finding, which isn't often the case. I mean, they do go out and investigate, and there's like a percentile of people above the limit and so forth.
Yes, above the
Across
85th percentile.
Okay. And I think it was the park department. I noticed that they planted 66 trees at Winding Hills Park, which I thought sounded very, very positive. On the bills, we had a previous discussion in at the stormwater meeting. we have these, they're called AFPs, application for payments by different contractors. We have a lot, well, actually a low number of AFPs this month from like Kinsley and Pensy Supply, Grantham Pond and Roadwork, but they're kind of lumped together. I don't know how to explain the issue. They're not fully detailed. Like we're writing the same check for the same AFP in different accounts, and it's hard to figure out how much in total we're paying. So I believe, Lou and the accounting manager are going to look into that, and maybe we'll have a better system, description of what actually is being paid would be helpful.
Yes.
Any other comments?
Yeah, just a quick question for Chief Parsons. I noticed there was a reference to e-scooter legislation, which has been proposed in the state legislature. Can you give us just a very brief summary of what that includes?
Yeah, I think from what I recall with the meeting, they're looking into the issue. I'm sure that's, gotten attention over there. But right now I can't recall exactly what it was that they were proposing, but they're definitely looking into it, and it's an area of concern, but I can get that to you.
That's fine. Thanks.
I have a question too. We had talked about possible speeding on Hawthorne. Has that study been done yet, or?
I don't have the results yet.
But it's been done.
It's being done, yes.
Okay.
So I'll get those to you once I get them.
Okay, next month, hopefully we'll have that. Anything else?
Are we talking about A and B or A through E? We're talking about financial
Yes.
security reductions as well. There was a request in there for a reduction for Autumn Chase, I guess, PRD phases 1 to 5.
Mhm.
And I know that's reviewed, I guess, by CS Davidson. I don't often, I know they cut down a lot of trees in that development, and I don't often see, confirmation that they planted replacement trees. I just wondered how that gets evaluated and how you compare a mature tree being cut down with a sapling that's being planted.
Yeah, well, so I don't sure what's in your packets, but we do provide a detailed breakdown of each reduction that we recommend in terms of quantities of work completed to date. And the only items related to trees and shrubs would be those that were required by ordinance in terms of tree plantings per unit or per lot, et cetera, or a series of shrubs that are required for landscape buffers and things of that nature. I don't believe there's anything in our ordinance that has like a 1-for-1 ratio of trees removed for trees planted type of a situation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to know. I didn't think there's anything in the ordinance, and probably should be looked at some point.
We do have
Modernize.
in our package, Jason, the October 20th correspondence from Hirschler Road Associates, and then your review and report of November 10 with respect to Autumn Chase.
Right, and it says that they've installed 286 trees in phase 1. I don't know how many they removed though.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay, we're voting on the consent agenda. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Moving then to public safety, we'll have a report from Chief Parsons.
Yes, I'd like to thank the board for the time for the interview for our candidate here prior to the meeting. I appreciate that. We are going to have one of our vehicles that we purchased this year from this budget finally get to be upfitted. The other one still is waiting to be done. And the only other thing I had on my list was just this Bumblebee Hollow study that's included, but I'll take any questions.
And you referenced we do have in the, we've authorized the police department to hire 2 officers in the beginning of the year and then a third in mid-summer in July. But there are 2 candidates that are before us now. And we interviewed the one candidate this evening, and we'll interview Mr. Groff in December. Both of those candidates have passed background checks, et cetera, and are being recommended and will be attending the academy in January. And so we're excited to bring in 2 additional replacement officers, and one is female. Chief Schumberger.
Yeah, you'll see my report for October. We had 76 calls, average turnout of 6.51, which is about what we were the month before. So we're holding steady. Just let everybody know our fund drive will be going out next week of Thanksgiving. So when you get it, please donate, send back. Thanks. And I'll entertain any questions.
That's going out next week, you indicated.
Next week. Last year, it went out kind of late, like right after Christmas. This
Sure.
year, we
Oh, good.
wanted to get the jump before Christmas while everybody was in a happy mood.
I think that's
So-
wise, and I might suggest if you want to check with township staff, and perhaps we can, when the mailing is going out, put a boost on our website and then through social media to get people, because as you all know, we have a volunteer fire department and they spend a lot of hours serving this community. So the least we can do is give some of our holiday cheer being money to the fire department.
Yes, thank you very much.
For the chief. We had a public improvement meeting yesterday, like in the expanded version of this room on the other side of the petition. And you can look out in the parking lot and it was Glick servicing like the big ladder truck or something.
Yes.
Is that like an inspection or do they routinely service it? I know that's like the vendor for.
Yeah, it's the vendor. We have to have our aerial device tested every year. And this year they found a small leak in it. It was a bad O-ring in the hydraulic system. So they were here yesterday repairing that leak.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And then Lou, I don't know if it's appropriate here or at some point, I believe we have a resolution to authorize or permit fire department to apply for an LSA grant.
Yes, there's really 2 resolutions that were not originally on the agenda, but the deadline for the application for LSA grants, one for the fire department for up to $1 million and one for Trout Run is another resolution. It's also an LSA grant. Both those have a deadline of November 30th. So we had to get those on there for the board to take action tonight so we can submit that with the grant application.
Do we have copies of that?
Alexis, I think you provide the board with those resolutions. Yes.
Okay. Okay, the one that came email. Okay, I printed it off. Okay. Yes, the resolution is, but I didn't know if the other commissioners are familiar with it through the email correspondence this afternoon. Are there questions on that? So, under public safety, we'll take action on the one with respect to the fire department. And that is, I believe, help me, Tom, it's applying for $1 million for.
Yeah, that'll go towards the squad we ordered. That's going to be coming in the spring of 2029.
Okay. And if we take action, I believe that would be resolution 1114, correct? 1114. A resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Upper Island Township authorizing township staff to apply for a local share account LSA grant in the amount of $1 million for firefighting equipment.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. So get to writing, my friend.
Thank you.
Anything else for public safety from anyone? Moving then to administration, and we have our budget update. Lou?
Yes, there are 2 budget updates provided for the general fund and for stormwater fund. A copy of those memos are in your packet. I don't have much to add from what Zach has already provided to you, other than to tell you that the expenditures are being managed within budget constraints and none of the Upper Island Township funds are at risk of operating at a deficit.
Any questions on the budget?
Yeah, I had sent you an email, Lou, around. It was late in the day. If you were Scott, he would say that came in after hours. He doesn't have to answer it. But And I shared it with Mike. It's this graph of where the general fund is. And there's this big drop in October
Okay.
on the graph. Yeah, so it's the probably the transfer from the
Right.
general fund back to
It is.
capital reserve.
Yeah, both those drops, we did most of the transfers in October after the board approved those when we were doing during the budget discussions. We did this transfer both the sewer and for the general fund at that time. So if you recall, we had originally budgeted 2.9 million transfer from the general fund. Some of that went to the stormwater fund. We also transferred $800,000 from the sewer fund. So those are the biggest expenditures for the month of October.
And this is just a timing issue. If you look at the graph, normally we would do this in December and we moved it up.
Yes.
So it's just, it looks different because it's a different month.
Right. So that memo is dated like November 13th. And you've heard me ask the question before about how much we have in any account at any time. Like, a balance sheet is really a picture in time. But I don't believe we can know every day how much we have in the general fund. I think Zach said maybe once a month or something.
It does fluctuate quite a bit, yes.
Yeah. So we did this big transfer and then, took it down. It's almost down to zero if you look at that graph. And then we're reviewing, we're doing the budget now. We have
Yes.
this summary sheet,
Correct.
but we're projecting at the end of the year, we'll have like $3 million
Yeah,
back in the
correct.
general fund. So how do we get the three? We have nothing or very little now, and we're showing 3 million at the end of the year. Where does that come from?
When you look at the starting fund balance, we had over 3 million. I don't have that sheet in front of me, but if you look at there's a column on there that says the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
You'll see what that fund balance
It was
there.
4,600,000.
Yes.
Okay.
So that chart more than likely does not include the starting fund balance. So it's looking at our expenditures and revenue for the current year. And then when you factor in the fund balance from the beginning of the year, doesn't look as bad as what shows on that, looks on that chart.
Can he maybe write me an explanation or something? Like the one that memo is dated November 13th.
Yeah.
This document's November the 12th. And
Okay.
I'm mainly concerned just how we justify or get to
We'll get you.
verify the end of year balance of
Right.
being back up to 3 million.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, then moving to the draft 2026 budget, we're looking for authorization to advertise the budget ordinance for adoption at our December 17 meeting so that if we approve this, the draft budget would be available for public examination effective when it's ready. I think by email or by electronic mail, we indicated to the board this afternoon that the Public Safety Committee has met and not the Public Safety meeting, excuse me, the HARB Committee who met last night is celebrating their 250th anniversary and coming up with a booklet. What is it? A history of Upper Allen Township, Phil, or some such thing. It's an illustrated booklet.
It's a guidance document, yeah.
And so they're estimating that the cost of that may be up to $5,000. Probably not, because some volunteers are doing editing and some of that work. But I guess from the HARB, we would ask consideration to amend that draft or include in that draft a $5,000 expenditure for HARB. And maybe we don't have to officially, maybe that can be taken from
You
another.
can, when you take official action, well, if you want to modify it now, we can certainly do that. So we have the correct amount out on public display. I think we have 1,500 in there for HARB coming up for next year. Is that what you're talking about? 5,000 for this year or next year?
For next year.
We can adjust that number if the board so wishes, and then put that out for public display when we do that, when we get those numbers finalized. But we're asking for the board to take action tonight to just authorize. We're required by law to have it on public display for 20 days.
Yes.
So we're asking the board to take action tonight to authorize advertising of that draft budget for action to be taken on those two ordinances come December 17th.
help me in terms of sequence. Should we take action on the HARB request first and then vote to put it on public display, or?
Could. Yeah, that way we, we'll go ahead and just,
And
because
then you would have time to.
Yes.
do that and that.
our last budget meeting was last week and we pretty much finalized those numbers, but if you want to make an adjustment to that, if you take the action,
We'll
we'll,
necessarily have to make the adjustment before it goes in public display. Is that?
we
what-
could. I mean, it won't take long to do that one page.
I say you could.
Yeah, we can make
do
that adjustment and then have it ready
Interesting.
for the action, board action.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to grant HARB not to exceed $5,000 for expenditures in the user's guide for the anniversary.
So moved?
Second.
Moved in second, discussion.
Yeah, I would just like to briefly note that back when all this first came up, I think Jen's first estimate on completing this document was $40,000. And I just want to kudos to the HARB for stepping up and putting in an awful lot of volunteer hours, and some other folks who stepped in to also contribute. So we've got it from 40 down to 5.
Yeah, a good point, Phil, and volunteers have done it. Thank you to Carlisle because they've already done one, and so we're using that kind of as a guidepost, but we are getting a lot of volunteer hours in that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Okay, so now with that alteration in mind, I would entertain action to authorize the budget ordinance, and I believe that would be ordinance.
We don't need
We
to
don't
take
need
action
motion to
tonight.
reopen.
We just need authorization to advertise.
I'm sorry, the ordinance comes in December. Thank you. Is there such an action?
I move to ask appropriate township staff to post the 2026 budget for public review.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion?
I think the biggest issue the public would probably be interested to know is there's no tax increase overall. So
That's true.
And no fees. The sewers remain the same, so there's no increases at all.
I thought there'd be a rounding, braves of applause here. Yes, sir.
I've heard the motion.
Yeah. So noted. Okay. If there's no other discussion, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. So Lou, carry forward. And then we have another request for to submit another LSA grant, and that is for the Trout Run Connectivity Project. Yeah, I did have it just 1 minute ago.
Hi, Jason, almost giving none to talk
I
on.
think Alexis is.
Alexis.
No, I have something to say, while Ken looks for that. It should be in your red.
Yeah, I saw it just a minute ago, Alexis. I
Okay.
apologize.
So this is the Trout Run Connectivity Project. We are proposing the construction of the Trout Run Recreation Trail, which is a multimodal ADA accessible trail system designed to safely connect several neighborhoods, which include Center Square and Ashcombe, to Trout Run Park and the Trout Run Nature Preserve. The project enhances community walkability while protecting environmentally sensitive areas along Trout Run. So project highlights include a paved multi-use trail, an elevated boardwalk system, a pedestrian bridge, an ADA accessible observation area, stormwater and site improvements. I'll have Jason actually talk about the project cost and the cost summary. If you could.
Just to further clarify what you're looking at here on the screen, the current parking lot for Trout Run is in this area. The conceptual project at this point proposes an 8-foot wide by 2 minutes trail. that will gain access from the parking area up to an existing pavilion, and there's an existing basketball court and playground facilities, which currently there isn't any ADA access. That trail will extend over into this natural area where the township currently has just a grass walking trail that extends down to this area to a point where it terminates. The proposal would be for that to remain in a grass condition and or possibly mulch. It would be an unimproved trail system with ultimately a pedestrian crossing over the waterway then to tie into the adjacent development. The upper portion is being proposed as a elevated boardwalk. It'd be about 6 foot in width. Again, there would be a second pedestrian bridge crossing. So the elevated boardwalk portion would tie into that pedestrian bridge, take you out into the center of Trout Run Park, where there would be a roughly 20-foot diameter observation area. We're considering doing a pavilion type structure on that as well, with seating to enjoy this space. And then that again would extend over and tie into the adjacent development. The current project estimate is just under $1 million, which does include engineering expenses. In this case, the engineering is going to be relatively high because of the nature of the site. We have several water crossings in terms of proposed bridges. There's wetlands to delineate, joint permits, et cetera. A bulk of the construction cost then is related to the paved trail system and then ultimately that elevated boardwalk.
Jason, how wide is the second leg of that trail, like over to that observation depth?
6 feet. We're currently the estimate set up for a 6 foot wide pedestrian bridge and a 6 foot wide elevated boardwalk. The internal paved trails would be 8 foot. And then really the unimproved section.
That whole area there, that's boardwalk.
This whole section, yes. We have not done a wetland delineation at this point. Based on my uneducated eye, it's all wetlands in that area. So the elevated boardwalk basically minimizes the impact or footprint of our disturbance. You can essentially construct those systems on the platform as you build it without disturbing the wetlands significantly.
Does the township land touch both of those cul-de-sacs and we don't have to obtain any land?
That's correct.
Are the elevated boardwalks Trex or pressure treated?
Trex.
Okay.
Anyone from the audience wish to speak on this issue? Any other questions of the commissioners, or I would entertain action?
Does this need to be a resolution?
Yes, Rick has it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll move that we authorize resolution number 1115, authorizing township staff to apply for an LSA grant in the amount of $1 million for the Trout Run connectivity project.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is really the first time we are seeing this. And there are a lot of unanswered questions about the status of the grant for Trails of Generations Park to complete the second loop. I guess we still don't know whether we're going to get that. It's not been announced.
That's correct. I think the timeline is for this November yet. That was the original indication from the last grant that was submitted. I don't believe staff has received any notification of that at this time, though.
So, I mean, obviously it's a nice project and it's attractive, but we have an unfinished project at Generations Park. And I think you've heard me ask at different Park and Rec meetings and other meetings for the cost of infrastructure at Generations Park. And I've been on the board, 2 years now, and had a whole issue with it being involved in the master plan for that park. And I don't like proceeding with a different project while we have major questions unanswered at Generations Park. And why wouldn't we, if we have all this infrastructure, like I'm trying to talk about infrastructure at Generations Park versus the project like amphitheater and all that, that we don't have good cost numbers on infrastructure there. And
Right.
maybe that could be an LSA grant. Do you
Correct.
follow me? I'm not
Yeah,
trying to be
but-
dismissive in a way.
I think the timing is an issue here for us. In other words, the state hasn't announced the other grant, so we can't apply for a grant on something that hasn't been done yet. So this is another project that's been on.
You can't apply.
We're
like for
waiting-
the same
Right.
project area or something.
Well, you couldn't apply for the same project. If we don't get approved for the other half of the trail, then in 2006, you're going to apply for that trail again, I think. 26, I'm sorry, 2026.
We could have applied for infrastructure improvements at Generations.
I don't
this year.
think until
we
we
could.
get the grant we have pending.
We could, but I think that what we've talked about in the past was you break it down into pieces. So we've had some discussion that the next piece might be the senior park. And you do we've got the stormwater all done and the excavation done for the whole park. So now we can go back and take piece by piece and decide when we want to do them. But right now we're waiting to hear about completing the loop, which I think is important. I hope you agree.
No, I do.
But in the meantime, since we don't have an answer on that, this has been on the books for a couple years too. So maybe we put in a grant for this, see if we can get this going. To get $1 million grant is pretty significant. So we're not going to get two $1 million grants in the same year. We'd be lucky to get one. So I kind of tip my hat to these folks that they're saying, well, we don't know what's going to happen with Generations. So let's go ahead and try and move this forward and see where it lands.
Well, and I appreciate the interest in continuing and moving forward with Generations, but if we're going to wait till Generations is completely built out, we won't get to this for another decade plus, because Generations is a long multi-year project, at least as I see it. So here's an opportunity to do a discrete, identifiable project at the same time while we're doing a longer multi-year project. So I don't see them in conflict, I guess.
The advantage to these LSA grants is that there's no match required. So it's not like other than the time it takes us to fill the application out, there is no additional monies that the township would have to come up with as part of these applications.
I think it's a process issue of when it comes to the board, different projects, I think should be presented with cost estimates so that they can be prioritized. And this is similar to last year, a little earlier than the last minute, and no criticism of Alexis as you're looking at me, because I know she's a great grant writer. We had done the grass trail to Ashcombe. I believe we probably have their cooperation. They would appreciate the trail to the Ashcombe Mansion. And I think that was $25,000 or something. But now we're seeing this for the first time really, and it's $1 million. And I just, I can't support it at this point.
Okay.
Even though
I don't remember, can you illuminate me on the grass trail to Ashland? I don't remember doing that.
Correct. Or did that in-house and kept expanding that mode trail. And, and the wood chips and all that, that's relatively inexpensive.
It's a portion of the black on the opposite side of the creek
Okay.
is grass trail that our Parks Department has put in. I'm not aware of a connection to Ashcombe at all, though.
They were having discussions, correct? Somebody should be aware of that.
There was, to my knowledge, there was never a connection made. I think the Park and Rec Director did reach out to them. They were attempting to coordinate a potential connection there, and I think there was only interest on one side, being the township at that time, and do the other activity on site. So,
To speak to Commissioner Fairchild's concern, is $1 million enough to complete this project?
I believe so at this point. This is the work that's been completed to date. It's as conceptual as you can get.
Right.
When we do have rough lengths, we're doing just under 1,000 feet of paved trail. We have good idea what that costs. We're doing approximately 500 foot of the elevated boardwalk. I estimated that high. I have not built one of those personally, didn't have, an inventory of cost figures to look at that. So there is some, industry awareness that I'm using there to ballpark that figure. And then we have put in plenty of pedestrian crossing bridges, and we have a decent resource for that. So I believe that's a fairly accurate number at this point, and we do have a contingency in there about 10% at this time.
And there's no other infrastructure. We're not going to run any electric or water or anything for any of this.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, what is the deadline for the grant application?
November 30th.
November
November
30th.
30th, yeah. On both of them, both the LSA grants. And basically, they'll both be competing for the same pot of money.
Thank you.
And we had a project for Bishop Bridge. We had a long discussion about that. That bridge is now out for removal, which means demolition. And that was not a priority for this board. That was a grant candidate. You know, all this discussion, I'm just saying, we were seeing this for the first time. And then last year, it was to go to Park and Rec to be reviewed before we could even take action. I doubt there's time to go to Park and Rec and then have it come back and meet the November.
It was at Park and Rec in
Yeah.
April.
Not this, not
Maybe
this
not the-
diagram, not $1
Maybe
million.
not the map, but we discussed it at Parks and Rec in April.
I don't remember $1 million figure in April.
Well, Chad's not here, but
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for Chad right now.
Yeah.
So he told me that it was discussed in April at the Park and Rec Board. They told us to
Okay.
go ahead with it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Let's see, we have a motion on the floor for authorize the grant, application for the grant. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No,
Motion carried for one. Thank you. Anything else for administration, Lou?
That's all we have.
Okay, let's move then to public improvements, and the first is a change order, proposed change order for McCormick Road Bridge. Is that Jason?
Sure. As you may be aware, the McCormick Road Bridge number 105 project has been on hold here for the past month or so. Our contractor, Kinsley Construction, uncovered a high voltage electric line within the limits of the project. Unfortunately, the line's location was the direct conflict with the proposed box culvert that's to be installed. We've been working directly with PP&L and the contractor to establish arrangements to relocate approximately 80 feet of the underground electric line, which involves installation of 2 junction boxes, conduit, et cetera, and then the electricians work to actually do the relocation of the electric line itself. The change order is currently presented as a work directive, which has both time and material rates along with lump sum rates to complete the work. The estimated balance is in the amount of $39,530.03, which includes a conservative estimate of 7 days to complete that work. Our field representatives will monitor the time that it actually takes to do that work. We're hopeful that it can be completed in approximately half of that time, which would result in a savings, the change order amount that has been presented to you this evening.
So that actual cost or actual time would be reflected in the final change order.
That's correct.
So this is in your estimation, top.
I'm hopeful, yes.
Actually, I didn't have trouble with the estimate, except I'm not sure about that 3 cents. I'm teasing.
I agree.
Any thoughts, discussion?
It was vetted yesterday at the public improvements meeting, which all 5 commissioners were at attendance.
Are you ready to propose action?
If I have a document. I'll move that we authorize township staff and Jason for work directive change order number 1 in the amount of not to exceed $39,530.03.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion? Any comment?
just comment, we got a good bid originally on that bridge. Compared to
Oh, for the
what was estimated
Yep.
and really good compared to what the county had estimated it would cost. So we're still coming out ahead. And there is the county match under the small bridge program. We're going to try to get in under the wire on that. So
Any comments from the audience? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next is the Pennington Road dedication.
The next item on the agenda, as you mentioned, is the Pennington Road. Mr. Mumford is here tonight to address some comments that we had provided. As you know, as the board is aware, that typically the deadline to accept streets for the township is October. We have to get authorization advertised, which usually has to happen by the middle of October so that the board can take action, or the beginning of October, so that the board has enough time to take action before the last meeting in October to accept the streets effective 1 November. I provided you with a list of some of the outstanding conditions that staff had found. And I think we'd asked that we put it on here and give Mr. Mumford an opportunity to discuss this with the board tonight. And I think he's here.
What up? Before you get started, there's a little button on the base of that microphone. If you press it, that microphone should turn green. There you go.
Got
Can you
it.
introduce yourself and your address, please?
And Jim Mumper, my office address is 315 Pennington Drive, Mechanicsburg.
Okay.
I applied for road dedication in July, and I think the township was going through a lot of staff changes, and I kept probably monthly sending emails and asked what the status was, and really didn't hear anything until September 29th. And they said, we're going to have our engineer come out and look. I got a report late in September and met with staff and representative of the engineering firm. So from my perspective, you all were in a transition stage. A lot of staff had left, and the things did not progress probably the way they should have. So that's why I'm here, kind of later than we should be to try to get the road dedicated.
And I think you met with some of the other commissioners of public improvement. I don't recall what committee it was, but you were given the staff report in terms of their concerns and that work. And then are you aware of the incompleted work that still remains?
Yes, we're discussing what, because the plan, I think, should be reviewed under what was submitted. Is that correct? In 08?
No, you only receive those protections for 5 years after the plan is approved. So the current standards would apply. For example, the ADA standards would be current ADA standards.
I thought that if the plan's progressing, the standards still apply. As long as the plan's progressing, it applies. If the plan sits and the roads are not constructed, at that point, then you have 5 years.
That's not my understanding.
That was my attorney's understanding and mine also. So obviously, I read it. If you got a plan approved and just left it sit and did not proceed with the improvements, then you have 5 years. But if you proceed with the improvements and keep going on, like, we did phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time, we put the improvements in. So those improvements should be done the improvements should be reviewed when the plan was approved, because at this point, some of those improvements were put in 2008. And so if the ordinances change, you say I have to tear those improvements out and redo them?
Yes.
You really only, you're arguing, we're only talking about the ADA improvements, right? Are you talking about other things?
Well, I think you're saying everything. Is that correct?
Well, mainly, the question that was presented to me was about the ADA standards.
I see. And I was looking at it overall.
Okay.
Yeah, because the representative from CS Davidson said those ADA standards change fairly frequently. And so I guess you're saying that even though there's ramps were installed to the specifications at that time, they have to be taken out and redone.
Correct. I mean, they have to meet current ADA specifications.
So if I do them this week and the specifications change next week, then I have to tear them out again? By your logic, that's what you're saying.
Well, I think one of the things that might, we're under the impression that the development or the progress was interrupted because there's not a lot happened other than building homes, but in terms of the infrastructure and those improvements, I think that just sat idle for a while. And I believe according to municipal code, in a multi-phase project, you're supposed to annually update that. And so we didn't get those updates that I'm aware of. So to us, then the project was on pause.
I think at the township's request back in 2008, you wanted me to do phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time, which we did. So both phases were done at the same time.
But I think you're supposed to give an annual update as to the progress that the development is making, correct?
That I don't know.
That was my understanding, but I would need to
I don't-
ask someone
I
that
do
knows
not
a lot
know.
more than me.
Right.
Because to me,
Well, let's.
casual observer just kind of.
So if I agree to tear the handicap ramps out,
I'm sorry?
if I agree to tear them out and redo them, then will you accept the roads, I guess? Because I think,
I think there's more issues though, in terms of some of the sidewalks and there's ADAs at the concerns at the upper and lower entrances, yes, but there's a concern about the signs, about stormwater inlets, and then half dozen or more about sidewalks and driveway aprons. And to my knowledge, I think, and they were all in the original conditions or observations, and to my knowledge, they have not yet been completed, but maybe if they have been, then inform us differently, Jim.
some of them have been completed, yes, sir. Not all of them. Some of them we've been working through with staff as far as your ordinance says that cracks that are less than 1/8 of an inch can be repaired. Today, I just got an email from Jason on what product to use. So it's taken some time to get some answers.
No.
Well, and then the other thing too is the plats and legal descriptions for the road dedications. I think there was an email about those not being adequate or some.
And I sent a revised plat. And I guess it didn't get forwarded or
Well,
my engineer
The,
sent the same one twice. I know the date it wasn't changed.
yeah, I looked at the original date and I looked at the revision blocks. Everything was still the original submission from July. We did not plot all of that information to verify its accuracy.
When he got back to the office this evening, he's gonna check to see if they just forgot to add a revision
Well,
date.
we should make sure that what you submitted the second time is in fact a revision from what you.
That is correct, but I never got response from my emails. So it's difficult to move things along if you're not getting responses.
Granted, but we all know in this stage of information and development and commerce, if I don't get a response to my inquiry email for a month, let alone 2 weeks, I probably, it's not a commentary, but I would be badgering them and say, where the heck is my response? So I grant you, we've had transition, that we admit, and maybe some things got misplaced. I don't know that. I don't come here every day, but I'm not sure that the follow-up was what I would have expected from a developer that had concerns about that. So
You think my monthly emails asking where the state was not, it should have been weekly or daily?
Not telling you how to run your business, but in me, if I don't get a response to electronic mail, township's pretty accessible. I'd stop in. I mean, I guess what I'm saying, Jim, I don't know how high a priority it was for you at the time.
It was high. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't like plowing streets, so it was high and I'd like to get it taken over.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're down now at the 11th hour. I mean, it would have been better to do that early, seems to me, but. Okay. But, you know, the bottom line is we still have a plan and we have infrastructure that doesn't meet our standards. So I don't know how we in good faith can adopt or dedicate the streets when they don't meet our standards. Right? I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I have some sympathy for what Mr. Mupper is saying. These ADA requirements seem to change every few years or something. We are having to tear out perfectly good ADA ramps in Meadowview and some other locations and update and replace them at great cost. And there should be some pushback on ADA in general, I think, because we're like on our third generation of ramps now. Like how it's not rocket science to have a ramp that a wheelchair or whatever can get up. So I sympathize that
I
way.
appreciate that. And we had a discussion probably for 3 weeks on the wings on the ramp. And, you know,
They're probably right that you're gonna have to do it because we have to do it as a township from what I've seen, but.
And I think I was correct that the wings met the ordinance, but unfortunately it took me 3 weeks and finally the same document that I presented, my engineers presented, and that was fine. Yeah, so
I'm a little confused. It seems like that road has been in a long time.
it has, yes, sir.
And that's just the rough course or something like that. And then as it got built out, you then put the final surface on. Is that what happened?
I put phase 2 in the wearing course, probably about 5 years ago. And then just at the end of the month of October, I put the wearing course in phase 1.
Where is wearing course? The finish course?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, wearing course is the name. The binder's the base course. And you really shouldn't leave binder without a wearing course for a long time or it'll break up.
And again, we had discussion at the Public Improvements Committee that I mean, I tried to kick around that I would support if you brought this in sometime when you got these items completed, that I would support and try to bring it to the board to get the roads dedicated yet this year, because I've talked to Cody. I mean, I talked to our Public Works Director and he was in favor that he had personnel ready to plow these roads in his plan and his schedule. The only thing we would be lacking would be our PennDOT liquid fuels reimbursement for next year, which is not that much money. So
I mean, I can continue to work on that. Probably the upper ramps, I think, are off about a 64th of an inch per foot in fall. Is that correct?
I don't have the memo in front of me to verify that.
So I mean, that's percentages on this memo, which is confusing to me.
Yes,
because it's usually a slope.
Yeah, the percentage I think was 0.085 and the percentage is supposed to be is 0.0333, repeating, which is about a 32nd of an inch per foot. Less than a 64th an inch per foot. So it was probably off someone's when they were troweling. And the lower one, after we got the wing satisfied, the pad's not wide enough. The pad needs to be 4 feet wide and it's only 3 feet, the dimpled pad.
I have one item I'd like to clarify that based on a couple of the statements this evening. The ADA standards have not changed since 2010. They've been a consistent standard from that date.
And this was approved in
Yeah.
2008, correct?
Right, I think the plan was approved prior to that, 2007, 2008 time period, so.
And this has always been one of my concerns when we bring plans in here and they go extended periods of time. And based on what you conveyed, I believe, you're saying, well, as long as you do a little something, you get to stay under the old requirements. With that kind of logic, you could run a plan out 50 years, as long as you're doing a little something every year on the plan. And I don't think that's the intent. I think my personal observation is that you've kind of worked fits and starts on this housing development. You have a couple houses and nothing for a while, and you build a beautiful house. It's a great area. But and we go back to when it was originally approved, and we asked for a trail, and you couldn't do that because you weren't selling enough houses. And then you came back in the second time. It's kind of been I'll finish, please. I'll finish, please. Then you can have your turn. It's kind of been our history with you is that things kind of get put off to the last minute, and then you come in and ask for forgiveness, and that disturbs me.
Okay, well, I think I asked one time for the trail. You gave me
5 years?
5 years, and I did it within a year. Is that correct?
I don't know when you did it. You asked
I
for
did.
longer than 5 years. You got 5 years.
And I did it
And it was-
within a year. So the trail was done pretty quickly. The streets were done, halfway or the first so many lots almost immediately. And
So why did you seek approval on phases? Well, I mean, if you're going to do things, and you said you had 2 phases, I don't remember us requiring you to do both phases at once.
it was a request, yes,
It was a requirement or a request?
request that we did, and I agreed to it.
Okay.
At the township meeting, you requested that we do both phases at one time.
So
But I put all the sewer in initially.
sure, and that makes sense. I mean, financially for you, you want to mobilize that equipment one time and have them come out and do the sewers. But it is an expense because you got to sell the lots then for people to come back and buy them. And I recognize that, but those are business decisions that you made. And so now I'm kind of with Commissioner Castranio. If you can get all this stuff done and come back in December, I would probably vote for it, but I won't vote for it tonight. I'm disappointed you come in with a list of things that aren't done and still want us to go ahead and accept it. I can't vote for that.
Accept it with conditions that they get done.
No, I want to see them done for my vote. It's,
And in my defense, I did not request this to be put on the agenda, so.
Right, I think I'm the one that asked to be put on the agenda because there was a lot of emails going back and forth, to different staff members. I thought we could try to get this, help you out
Right.
and try to move it forward.
Yeah. I appreciate that. It gave me an opportunity to speak, so I did not come
okay.
with an
Well,
unfinished thing. So
I'm not aware of any conversations you've had with other board members or board members have had with staff. This is all news to me. I didn't know anything about this until yesterday when it came up at PI. So.
Do you feel like you have an understanding of the conditions or the staff comments on the plan? I mean, do you understand them and or agree to what it is that you have to get done?
Yes, with the exception of, before I had to tear out the things, now they've agreed that because your ordinance says cracks that are less than the eighth of an inch can be repaired. And the original report said I had to tear them out even though the cracks weren't that large. So those things I kind of had to negotiate a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yes, and the handicap ramp, I mean, it's, it is so close, but, I'll tear it out because it's supposed to be 0.8333 and it's 0.085, which, like I said, is about a 64th of an inch per foot. But
If it's any consolation, who was it? Mr. Rothman was in here last month. What's the name of their development? It's near Winding Hills.
Portland Park.
Cortland Park. I think they replaced 106 sections of sidewalk.
yeah,
They're like 2 years old. So.
and you get damage, just from other things too.
I did. What I was going to suggest is, we have in front of us a condensed list of incomplete work. I don't know if that's a comprehensive list, but I would ask our engineer and our staff to make sure that we have a listing of what's left to be done, what's incomplete. Share that with Mr. Mumper. Let him respond, or not respond, make sure you understand what it is we want. I mean, here's one, seal, cracks, and apron. Well, we have a plan for that now, but you got to get it done so that you don't have to spend time coming to us and we don't have to spend time examining it, but that you know what it is that you need to do. You come in and you say, here it is, I'm finished all but for this one thing because I couldn't get Goldstone until next month or something. And then we can deal with it. But I think this board is hesitant to, just given the history and the length of the development, to say, well, you know, we can do it. And if you get this done, this time.
I
Not that, you're an honorable man. We're not
I
trying to
understand.
question your integrity, but yet we want to wrap
I
it up so
understand,
it's a
sure.
clean transaction, Jim. Okay?
I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, master sign plan discussion. I imagine that would be Shepherdstown Crossing. Who is, I imagine one of the gentlemen facing me is going to present this, or maybe multiple ones.
Good evening, Jamie Strong with McNeese Wallace and Nurk. As you'll recall, at your November 5th meeting, we had an opportunity to sort of collectively walk through all of the signs that were proposed as part of the master sign plan application and try to derive from that a consensus as to conditions of approval for the application. Had an opportunity then to work with township staff on those proposed conditions. And I understand that the staff memo was provided to the board for your consideration. So we're here tonight to, I guess, answer any questions, but request action on the master sign plan application and looking for approval subject to the conditions.
Yeah.
I missed getting a staff memo. This section is,
The one that we sent along.
By email. Yes,
We
right.
emailed it to you. Yeah.
it was an email when?
Like Friday.
On the 14th.
You don't have it either?
I don't have it.
Can you make a
printed.
couple copies?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go do that.
Thank you.
That's what you're referring to, Mr. Strong,
Yes.
that was
yeah.
shared with you.
Yeah,
Ah, okay. Give us a minute.
sure.
When was the 14th? Who said it, Mike?
I don't know.
Who did it come from, Mike? Yeah, that's okay. We'll just have to remind, I mean, I like when we get things early, but then we usually depend on having a hard copy in our file.
The water agenda packet. It came from Mike, you said.
The memo comes from Mike. I don't remember how I got it. It's in a-
Here we go. Friday.
in my box that I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, there were 6 conditions with that, right, Jamie?
Correct.
Okay.
And the conditions as drafted in the memo are all acceptable to the applicant. But again, I know that the conditions were provided to the commissioners for your review and input. So obviously you need to review those to have the input.
Yep.
Yeah,
I got it, Mike.
thanks, Mike. It was,
Sorry, it was buried in an email chain.
so you're suggesting, or you're alleging that your client is willing to, accept these 6 candidates?
Correct.
I was surprised at that because from my perspective of one, I thought that you agreed to take away sign B in exchange for leaving sign A the way it was. And so I was prepared to support that, but now I indicate that you're even willing to lower it, but it's not in the sight. I mean, the sight line isn't interrupted because of that wall, is it? So having it at 17 feet doesn't really cause any concern, does it?
Reducing the height to 17 feet is acceptable to the applicant. I know staff.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. So I apologize. I misread. I thought you were going down to 15 and I thought, no.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It was 19 feet.
It was 19. Okay.
It was 19. So the thought was to reduce the
Yep.
height of the base by 2 feet.
Interpretation of my part.
Yeah.
And the sign, the plan that they submitted, that there's no signs within the clear sight triangle
Correct.
or that interfere with sight distance.
Oh, and then the other one, this is, I have problems with number 5, but I agree that, maybe the developer wants to do that just for the aesthetic comment, but I don't think this board should be dictating aesthetics to that degree that you have to hang sign light posts that don't do anything. To me, that's just an error, a non-defendable request, but I'll go along with it. But to me, that is absolutely, this board is overreaching when we're asking you to put signs or light standards up that do absolutely nothing. But I've said my piece. Any
So
other?
condition 4, just so we understand again, this is the big sign on the retaining wall.
Correct.
And the lighting is to be behind I'm trying to get an idea what this looks like. There's not going to be spotlights on it, or it's not going to be illuminated itself.
I believe,
Correct.
Jim,
I'm
an
thinking-
example would be the up around fire department light. That's
Okay,
back.
well, I was thinking Legacy Park has a light similar to that where the background is kind of lit up and the sign
Shows the letters.
shows. in
Correct,
front of it. That's
yeah.
what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, so 2 options. One would be to have the sign backlit, or the second would be to have external illumination shining on it. But the one thing that couldn't happen was for the sign to be internally illuminated.
Internally
The
illuminated.
letters and
Right.
bells.
Correct, right.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up. That's fine with me.
Well, since we're into aesthetics, my personal preference would be to have it backlit rather than have it
Correct.
frontlit. But
I agree, but it's up to
it's up to the developer. But
Okay.
so I guess I am commenting on aesthetics. So I'm sorry. Eric.
I'm confused by the process. We had a conditional use hearing, which we have never really done as a board. That was my first time, being on commissioner here for 2 years. And then took testimony. I guess there's a transcript. You've reviewed the transcript and are satisfied. I guess we did get a copy. I'm just trying to follow the process and make sure we're okay. And then at the last board meeting, was it a month ago or 2 meetings ago?
2 weeks ago.
I was encouraging a discussion of back and forth. And I thought there were different options, to improve it, at least in some of the commissioners' eyes or not. And then I was really surprised to get this memo that we're now at the condition stage, because I thought there was a variety of discussion at that prior meeting. I thought maybe you would come back to this meeting and present some new options for signage, or even be creative or something to your advantage,
I think our understanding leaving that meeting was that our staff heard our discussion and we tried to formulate that into conditions that we could work with the township and us back and forth yet.
I think there's a lot more to it than these short paragraphs, especially on the sign G for the Chick-fil-A and all that. Mr. Lindendorf wasn't here for the last meeting, but
We
this
We
is
tried
we
to-
got rid of
it's
the sign.
fast
We got rid of
tracking
it.
something without enough board consideration. I think this is, we're moving too fast. For coming up, somebody writing these conditions without discussing it with us as a board. Either internally or however, I mean, we were asked to comment on the conditions.
The way that and this was Mike prepared an original draft and then I reviewed that draft. And I watched that video of the commissioner's conversation very carefully and tried to make sure that the conditions that we put in were ones that were adopted by or supported by a consensus of the board, because there were some, like one person would bring up an idea and no one else really seemed to agree with it. And so we did not make something like that a condition. We tried to pick the ones that it seemed that the board had come to a consensus on. So and then after we drafted that memo, we provided it to Mr. Strong. He provided some comments. We had some additional revisions. I still think that these conditions reflect the consensus of what the board was discussing at the last meeting. But that's how we came up with the conditions.
And as for not doing this before, this didn't exist until last year. So we really couldn't have done, I mean, this is the first time out. And to be honest, it was proposed back when I was on the board. I was not in favor of it. And then I was off the board and I was at the meeting when you guys decided to adopt it and I spoke against it then. But it was adopted and I was concerned that we would see monstrosities come in and signs everywhere. And frankly, I'm very happy with it. I've been proven wrong. I think that the developer has made a reasonable request. Some things were a little bit beyond the edge and we had to pull them back. But in general, I'm happy with it. But I don't think you can have a process that runs months when developments have money out there and they need to get their job done. I think it's time.
We have a limited amount of time by statute to rule on a conditional use application. So we're essentially, if the application would not be approved tonight, then it would be deemed approved.
Or you mean all the
not-
conditions?
Everything he asked for, he could do if we don't approve the conditions tonight.
Or
Correct. If you don't make some sort of decision tonight, then it's going to be just deemed approved the way it was originally presented.
An extension to us, or do we grant, it would have to come from them?
Absolutely. I mean, it's by statute that the municipality has to act within a certain period of time.
Eric, interesting. What, to me, this seems reflective, but what concerns do you have that aren't included on this that we kind of agreed to last time?
Just that staff or the solicitor is making a determination of what our consensus is. I'm not sure we went through it sign by sign and had a consensus. Like on the first sign, I remember Jim suggesting 17 feet. I was okay with 19 feet. I just don't know how it came down to 17 feet. I don't remember everybody saying, oh yeah, let's do 17 feet, or even the applicant wanting to do 17 feet. If I was the applicant, I'd want to stick with 19 feet. I personally supported 19 feet.
Well,
and my issue was the visibility and using a pylon sign instead of a monument sign. Was I outweighed that much, or is that apparent? It was 4-1 against using a pylon sign there, or at least I wanted to have options for the applicant to consider.
I think I recall us talking about a pylon and a monument sign. And I believe I thought the discussion was going in the direction of a monument, but I don't know if we took a formal vote.
And in coming up with this consensus, it was not all 5 commissioners agreed on every single one of the conditions. There was clearly pushback.
Well, the consensus applies 3.
Yeah.
We're on each one.
But we just tried to put this together to make it, I mean, ultimately, the decision is for the commissioners to make. We weren't trying to interfere with your authority to ultimately make the
So I'll skip ahead. My biggest concern is condition 6, the signs G for the Chick-fil-A. Yeah, there was consent,
I'm
I
sorry,
thought
where are
about
we?
the changeable message board. But there was much more to what is under sign G. That was the pylon sign in front and the wall signage. I thought from the get-go, I expressed hesitation about, under the existing ordinance, most wall signage is limited to 100 square feet. This was coming in at 288 square feet. The range of how the ordinance is written is the deviation. That is an extreme deviation to me. I did see a point, I think, in the applicant's favor, how they were calculating, you weren't here, Mr. Lindendorf, but they're putting a box around the Chick-fil-A logo. And I don't think that's fair per se, because it's creative logo. It's sort of written in cursive. They should trace the outline of the cursive and then get a square foot number. And I wanted to hear what that number was. And now I'm not hearing that. And we're asked to make this decision tonight. And I don't think that's a good process. And then I thought, I had thought the pylon sign in the front should really come down and be a sign on the building would be just as effective in my mind. And you have the cursive logo and then the square logo that's illuminated now, and you are using that on the one side of the building. It was totally your choice what type of logo, but I thought that the absolute, even given latitude on how you calculate the square footage, should not be 288 square feet. When we're telling McDonald's or Starbucks and all the other ones, they can only have 100 square feet. And then what is going to happen when Chick-fil-A or Chipotle comes in? I think they were at 100 square feet for their wall signage.
Yeah, all of the Chipotle signage was included in the master sign plan.
That was within range, and then Chick-fil-A wasn't. And then is Chipotle going to want more? Is Chipotle going to want a pylon sign in front? Is that door closed once we, pass this? It's like questions like that I wasn't sure on.
Yeah, so yes, the door is closed and only the Board of Commissioners can reopen that door. So once the master sign plan application is approved, that is the approved signage for the overall development.
So before you move on, would you just clarify for me, that means they can't go to ZHB and ask for relief? I always thought that you were doing this to try and keep sign appeals going to the ZHB, but I didn't think this necessarily legally could prevent someone from going to ZHB if they didn't get what they wanted.
That's a good question. The only context that we've considered that was for the directional sign for the church and the dog park. And the condition was worded so that it just says church, it just says dog park with arrows. And if you wanted to have Daybreak Church and the Upper Allen Township logo, you'd have to go to the zoning hearing board for that relief. Haven't really thought of the context of your overall master sign plan, a future deviation. It's my recollection, without having the ordinance in front of me, that if you're proposing a change to your master sign plan, that has to come back into the Board of Commissioners. I could be corrected on that, but
I think
that's
that's the way
good.
we tried to write it. So if you did want something in the future, you'd have to reapply, have another hearing to the Board of Commissioners.
Can't go to ZHB.
I don't know if they can't, but.
Josh, do you have an opinion on that?
Well,
And I'm just asking for future
yeah.
instances with this because you're not doing that. But if the board approves a master sign plan and somebody doesn't get everything they want, are they still free to go to ZHB and ask for a variance to go ahead and do that?
I don't believe so. And we drafted this so that the only way they could go to the ZHB was if they were about the wayfinding signs. But we actually put that in the conditions that we're giving the developer.
So they're going to waive their ZHB rights if they come through this process?
Correct, unless it's, because whenever a developer agrees to the conditions of approval, they agree to those conditions.
And I think the
Okay,
master
I just
sign
wanted
plan.
that
Great
clarified,
question, but that's.
because I'm just
But I just
concerned.
want to be clear that they can still, if the conditions are approved the way they're drafted, they could still go to the ZHB for that one issue about the wayfinding signs, but not any other issue.
And I think the master sign plan ordinance does say, maybe Mike can correct me, but I think it does say any changes then to that approved master sign plan must come back to the Board of Commissioners. So you couldn't try and short circuit that and go to the
I
zoning.
just want to make sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate
But I
that.
think that was part of the genius of the master. We looked at it comprehensively, and then we don't have people nitpicking in particular signs against the overall master plan to go to ZHB to try to get something else.
Correct.
So that's my understanding, and I would hope that's the legal interpretation.
Correct.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification.
But it's a good question because, we've had a good dialogue with this developer, but there's going to be master sign plans after this.
There will. We've opened a door that many different developers can come through, and I don't know that they'll all be as reasonable as this developer's been.
That's the beauty of looking at this thing comprehensively.
Lowell Gates, if I could just address what Commissioner Fairchild asked about Chipotle. We went to Chipotle. We told them, speak now or forever hold your peace. So the facade signs that they're getting is all they're getting. They're not going to get any more pylons or anything. So just wanted to clarify.
Were you able to make a calculation of the cursive sign, just tracing it? You're coming in at 84 square feet for each one of those, the way it's presented.
We didn't, but
that's why your number ends up being 288, I think, because
it would be
they're
probably
made
half.
But it's not all sign, I would argue, but.
No, it's
because
open space. It shouldn't really count as square footage of a sign, because then you're like limiting creative signage for people who may want to, have a different logo.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the sign ordinance is pretty clear as to how you calculate the area of a sign. And so if you have a color to that background, you include the geometric shape that encapsulates all of it, rather than just the image or the lettering.
And a creative sign might have some marketing issues in the background too.
Yeah.
So if this one doesn't, but that you could have a sign that has something in the background. It has the corporate colors or something like that.
And
So
that's something we could look at in the future. The idea of just drawing a box around it didn't.
Yeah, no,
quite fair when you really get it.
Representing developers, I'd be happy to have it calculated on a smaller area, but.
Other discussion. Let's see. Paul, Jamie, Lowell, Bill, you're with Chick-fil-A, so I guess you've had your opportunity to speak, so I would just over that. Mike, do you have any comments or things you wanted to bring up from a staff perspective?
Not particularly,
I
no.
don't think you're turned on.
I'm.
there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, we drafted this memo and went through some revisions, paring it down to what we consider to be consensus. So it's now up to you to decide on each condition, and I don't know if you want to, make other modifications to this, it's your opportunity to do so.
Right. Okay. I don't think we can table the action because we're coming up against the deadline.
Right.
Yeah.
Today is the last available BOC meeting to take action on this plan.
Are there particular conditions, Phil, that you'd want to modify or change?
No,
or-
I'm
Okay. Right.
not entirely clear on 1.6.
Which one? You mean the height of the sign?
Yeah, that wasn't clear to me why we ended up coming down to 17. I thought my recollection was that there was some discussion with regards to potential pylon versus a monument base that would allow it to stay at 19.
Yeah, I had quite a bit of conversation on basically a 20-foot sign sticking out in the middle of nowhere. And and when you looked at the base seemed to have more height than it needed, and could we possibly shrink the base? And I think there were other people that chipped in too, if you go back and look at the
I much prefer a monument sign over a pylon sign.
Right. I think there was conversation from that too.
I think it adds to the class of the development. my,
Not allowed to mention instead.
I didn't. I said class, Eric.
And I think that goes to one of the ideas behind the master sign plan, which is an overall aesthetic or some consistency between the signs that are proposed for the project. So that brick base is one of those consistent design features with the monument type signs. So I think that also factored in. So if we keep that type of base, reduce the height of the base by 2 feet, which reduces the overall sign height by 2 feet, that was something that would be acceptable.
And we didn't reduce the advertising space at all. It was just the base height.
Correct.
So the advertising space remained unchanged.
Correct.
And I thought, personally, I thought it was a very generous concession by the developer to condition 2 to take away sign B. I think that's nice because it's right next to the historic district, but I thought that was I thought that was a generous concession, personally. Other comments?
Well,
Any? Go ahead.
the audience had to do it. The audience.
You spoke first.
Maybe I should be smart enough to know how to trace the sign and figure out the area, but I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that much of a deviation. To the extent that I can't support it, I can only say no. And I don't necessarily want to say no to you. I want to be, more cooperative than that. And if we could have an extension and see some new photos of what this would look like, I think it'd be to the benefit of everybody. But I know you also want to move forward. That's the dilemma, but I don't want to set a precedent for other people coming in and wanting, that amount of sign up walls.
I hear you, but I would suggest that with a master sign ordinance plan, we aren't setting precedents because the beauty of that approach is that we look at every development or every application of signage based on the highway system, not the geography, but the elevations and the geographic features of the area and the residential area or business area. So I really think that the master sign ordinance allows us to look at each development individually, independent of precedent.
I think Josh has already notified us that.
Yeah, he did.
Before, right? That was
That is because this application is considered globally, you can't then go and cherry pick one sign and say, oh, well, Chick-fil-A has this one sign. Now Starbucks should be able to have that same sign. That's because this application is approved globally for all the signs together. You're not setting precedent for any individual signs.
In my mind, you are, I understand you saying that, and that's a technicality, but it's a question of fairness too. I know the Starbucks and the other ones have wanted larger wall signage. And no, they can't have it, but the Chick-fil-A can.
well, they could do a master sign plan, I believe.
No, not a Starbucks unless he's not big enough.
No, Starbucks is part of that,
Development.
that all the RVs and all those together.
Then we're gonna have a lot more hearings, I think.
Mhm.
Good.
They're gonna ask for it. I think we.
Are there comments from the audience or thoughts? Okay, do I have proposed action?
Yeah, I'll move approval of the master sign plan with the conditions as listed on the November 14th memo.
With the 6 conditions, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have that on.
There you go. You want to restate it?
The applicant's request for conditional use to permit master sign plan application CU 25-01 for 211, 215, 219, 231, and 237 Gettysburg Pike, known as Shepherdstown Crossing per section 25-18.18.a of the zoning ordinance, is hereby approved with the following 6 conditions. The applicant shall further comply with all applicable township, state, and federal rules, regulations, and ordinances and law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion?
I do have one thing. I'm gonna, if it passes, I urge the applicant, before he puts in that monument sign A, he maybe put something in the field and has our staff come out and check to make sure it's not in the sight distance or anything before you finish it.
I mean, like a mock sign or
Or
something.
at least stakes, so
Okay.
we all can see maybe.
Yeah, that might help us too. Other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Motion carried 3-2. All right,
Apologies for the no vote. The process was
Well,
long, I believe, and we need to.
And just again, for clarity for the public, if we'd have voted this down, they could have gone and done anything they wanted to. It was on that plan. We're
Would have done that. I think
we're legally they
honorable
could.
that way. And I think have it extended, we could have reached a little better outcome for everybody.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
I just wanted to thank all of you for your
Okay.
time. I know this took a lot of time and effort,
Did,
and thank you very much.
but you were the inaugural master sign plan in this township.
Good.
How
Thank you.
about that? And then one other item under public improvements, I just wanted to give a shout out. Excuse me. To our township engineer, because in doing the Grantham Pond project, it was found that the hardware wasn't being installed to the boardwalk and the fishing pier according to specification. And so that was pointed out and the contractor came back and put in stainless steel hardware. So
Had to drain the pond to do it.
good job, Jason. No, I mean that sincerely. I mean,
I've got a scuba tank.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know how they did it, but we got stainless
Did they
steel.
really
bolt.
drain it?
They drained the pond
Wow, okay.
Completely.
They drained the
Or just
pond completely. Because I was there, as I said, I talked to some of the
Well, now I
workers
understand
that were
even
there,
more why
and they were not very happy
why
about
they
the process.
they go, us, okay.
But they drained the pond and there was a little bit of water on the bottom, but for the most part, I'd say 95% empty.
But I will say, even though you're probably not their favorite name right now, the kudos to Kinsley for Construction for doing it right.
Looks, yeah, down there, they're very contract.
Gorgeous.
Pure.
Well, and when it starts
Really
growing, that's gonna be a beautiful sight. Sanitary sewer, we have no agenda items. Planning and zoning, we have one case from Harb 303 Gettysburg Pike, and we have a memo from Scott Finkenbinder along with a copy of the application for a gentleman who wants to replace his roof shingles in kind with an asphalt shingle. It's a unanimous recommendation from Barb. Is there anything else to say on this one, Lou?
We don't have anything else to say now.
Questions, comments from the board?
I would have a comment there.
Sure.
I was at a historic preservation discussion this morning and the county is writing a historic district overlay for one of the western townships. So they will probably have that as a model for us to take a look at it at some point.
Interesting. Other comments about 303? The proposed act.
I move to approve a certificate of appropriateness to the applicant, Mr. Flores, for the request to do an in-kind replacement of the existing roof on the property of 303 Gettysburg Pike.
Okay. Your second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved in second. Any discussion? I don't think there's anyone here from the audience representing this plan. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Park and Recreation Committee, there's no agenda items. Does anyone have anything to report or comment on for the good of the order?
Just that the Park and Rec has missed, what, 2 meetings now?
Last 2 meetings, not have.
Pretty far behind in approving minutes.
Well, they had some discussion at the one, didn't they? But there wasn't a quorum to do any business. And then the second meeting, they just canceled because they didn't even have enough to have a discussion.
Oh,
They're meeting this, I know they see they need to meet and catch up on things.
Mhm.
We're
The
getting,
next meeting is this upcoming Tuesday.
is when,
which would be about what, 25th?
Yep, that's right, 25th.
Mike,
There's also a Birdtown meeting tomorrow.
Bird Town meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Here.
Here.
okay.
It'll be back in the multipurpose room.
Okay. And I might mention, this will come out in the new information, but the board did take action to observe Martin Luther King Day in January 26th, so that day the office will be closed. Miscellaneous, any update from the solicitor?
Yes, I received a request from Messiah Lifeways. They are undertaking a refunding project in connection with previously financed facilities in Upper Allen Township and Fairview Township. And in order to undertake this refunding, they need approval from the Upper Allen Township Board of Commissioners to approve the use of tax exempt financing for the project. So they have, I've been contacted by their attorney who has provided us with a form resolution. This was a project that was originally Piers financed back in 2016, and now it's being refinanced. And so that in order, this is was explained to me, it's conduit financing, so it's a private entity that's receiving public funding for certain projects. In order, their request is that Upper Allen Township enact this resolution at its December 3rd meeting following a public hearing. And they want to know if the board wants anyone from Messiah or from McNeese, who represents Messiah, to attend the December 3rd meeting at the time that this resolution would be considered.
What's public hearing are you talking? Do we have to schedule a public hearing?
No, that's the authority.
Well, yeah, so Upper Allen Township, before it could provide this approval, it would need to hold a public hearing.
Oh.
Now, Messiah has, they will pay for they will draft the notice and they will pay for the advertising for the hearing.
So when is that scheduled?
Well, they're asking for December 3rd.
Well, I know it's going to be on the meeting to pass the resolution on the 3rd. When is the public hearing going to be held? On the 3rd as well?
If it could be held prior to the board meeting on.
Is that enough time to advertise? I
It
guess.
is, we need 7 days.
So are we suggesting then that we have the public hearing, what, at 6 o'clock or 6:15?
I imagine it's going to be a short hearing, so I would say 6:15.
So there are some not-for-profits in the township that make a contribution for fire and police protection in lieu of taxes. Does Messiah make something to the fire department?
The fire department, it's been a number of years since we've gotten any type of donation, substantial donation from them.
And they are being notified about that.
Well, I'd like to see them, as part of this, maybe commit to an annual contribution of some type. I know there's a lot of EMS traffic that goes over there, and I think you get some false alarms on smoke detectors quite a bit.
Yeah, we're good for at least one a month, if not more. A lot of elevator rescues too.
And yeah, and it doesn't need to be significant, but I think it ought to be something appropriate to recognize the public safety that they get from the township for nothing.
I'm not opposed to that idea and the ask if we would make it as a suggestion. I don't think we can make that as a prerequisite to our signing the agreement for public financing. Because we don't do that for any other nonprofit in this township.
We haven't had a nonprofit come forward and ask us to sign off on financing for them either.
Well, but we have a nonprofit down the road that we do a lot of, I mean, you got the university.
Yeah, I just, in general, I think all the nonprofits ought to make
I agree
some
with you,
reasonable
but
contribution. I think this is a good time to bring it up, so.
I agree totally with you, Jim. I just didn't like the idea that it was looking like a quid pro quo, that was a condition of us signing, because I think we could get in trouble for that. But you advise me, sir.
So a hearing is being required for some reason,
Yes.
for the public's advantage to, I think, find out about something. And who's the financing authority for, is it like through the
The
county?
Lancaster County Hospital Authority.
What authority?
The Lancaster County Hospital Authority.
Okay. And who makes the determination about the financial viability and so forth? They are our largest taxpayer.
There was,
What if they go off the deep end with debt and everything else, and then we lose our largest taxpayer?
there's a hearing
They're not our
before
largest
the Lancaster County Hospital Authority on November 25th, 2026. It's a TIFRA hearing. I'm not familiar with that acronym, TEFRA.
Oh, a TEFRA hearing, yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that's whenever those concerns would be raised.
Anytime you have tax
But
incentive.
we won't be able to see a transcript or anything. I guess some of us could have the pleasure of watching it or something, maybe if it's streamed, but it's just who does that type of
They
thing?
actually, they contemplate in this resolution that they would provide the Upper Allen Township Board of Commissioners with a transcript from the TEFRA hearing prior to Upper Allen holding its public hearing.
They will have between what you said, the 25th and.
Correct. According to
Okay.
the way this has been presented to me, they would give us the transcript of that public hearing.
But recall, we did something similar when they first issued the debt. And we had to go through a process and a hearing and approve or not object to the financing. We've already done that. And that's why I think we have to do it now for the refinancing.
I'm just wondering,
Some
I don't-
time ago.
Oh,
yeah,
it was.
it was.
It was pre you,
I
yeah.
don't think.
I- My assumption is their property's tax-free. They're tax exempt. I'm not sure how you're getting them to be the largest taxpayer.
They show up as our largest taxpayer.
They do, there's a pilot payment in lieu of taxes. I think we have an agreement in place for that. I think it's,
For the independent cottages that
Right.
are,
right.
yeah,
It's
just, they pay
Schedule
taxes for
9
that.
or 10 in the AFR of who your largest taxpayers are.
We do have,
They're the
we've had a
largest.
list, yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head who they
Well,
are, but
And I'm not saying it's bad. I just
No.
always do the analysis or, and take a
So
look at it, I think.
Okay, yeah, it comes as news to me. I've never thought of them as being the largest taxpayer.
Never thought of that. I mean,
I think if you look at the audit report, I think it lists in there in one of the sections, who the top largest taxpayers are.
Okay, thank you.
They're the largest.
So as for an action item, it would be scheduling a public hearing. And then if you could let me know whether you want someone from Messiah Lifeways or
I don't
McNeese
think
to
that's the
attend.
right question, Josh. I
Okay.
think that's their decision, and any responsible party that is asking a municipality for endorsement to do something that grand as a refinancing, why wouldn't they be here?
Well, yes, they offered to come. They just asked me to confirm if their attendance was requested or not.
We have a resident of Messiah Lifeways in our audience, I believe. Would residents wish to attend this hearing if they knew about it or were interested? Any speculation there? So 15 minutes could be enough then, I guess, but. But-
It's perfunctory, but,
I mean, this financing was already financed and they're just
yeah.
refinancing now. So it's not
So
changing.
no additional debt, just a refinancing for a better rate?
Yes.
That's what I believe.
That would be vetted. I find it hard to believe they'll get a better rate over what they had 10 years ago, but I understand the purpose. They're expanding in another facility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to establish a public hearing for Messiah Village refinancing consideration at 6:15 on Wednesday, December the third.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Will you communicate to them and whomever's responsible to advertise and get that done?
Yes, I'll make sure that the advertising occurs appropriately.
Tax collection, probably no report. In terms of COG, we do have on January 27, our annual dinner meeting at the Best Western Premier and Central Hotel over at Union Deposit. MAB does not Met Township Association. I've not heard anything from them. Is there any public comment? Hearing none.
Before you close the meeting, can I make one comment?
Well, I'm not going to
Talk-
close it because we're going in executive
okay.
session. Go ahead.
Well, talk about emergency services. That just reminded me that the Penn State EMS agreement expires the end of November,
Yes.
and we have not heard back from them. I know Keldine, I did sit in on the meeting with the executive that came to the township, and we have not heard back yet. So I got to go take a look at that agreement to see if it automatically renews, if there's no action taken, or how that works for certain. But it expires November 30th.
And we did ask them for an increase, I
We
believe.
did.
Yeah.
We've not heard back unless they emailed Keldine, and I don't.
Okay. And Eric,
He's got something
I
to-
just want to comment, I pulled up the April 23rd, 2025 Park and Rec minutes, page 4. This is about the Trout Run Trail Project.
Yeah.
This is the discussion. It's about one paragraph. Mr. Krebs spoke about a Department of Economic Development grant for $250,000 with a 15% match. The money is proposed to be used at Trout Run Park. Mr. Krebs showed an initial plan which was for over $1 million. The plan is to drastically scale down the project to less than $500,000 and obtain a grant toward the rest. The grant application is due May 31st. C.S. Davidson is working on plans. Mr. Ken Martin, president of the BOC, suggested working with Messiah University on the plans. So just to refresh people's memory, but I'm not sure they ever applied for the it seems like this LSA grant is a repackaged version of what was discussed in April. Or an
it's a similar
expanded version of what was discussed. So did they ever apply for the DCED grant? No. Okay. And I just hope you see my.
You read Park and Rec.
I'll have to take a look. I know on the dry erase board that the assistant township manager previous left, there's a DCED grant mentioned on there, but I don't recall off the top of my head what that was for.
And I can kind of see the $1 million figure in the sense, I think that is the maximum LSA grant for people. And to zero in on that number, perhaps, is that why it's proposed that way?
Well, that's the maximum amount for the grant. So we applied for the maximum amount we could get. The piece of apparatus is over $1 million. And I think the estimate that Jason gave you was right around $1 million. And so that's the maximum we can apply for. So that's why we did that limit.
You understand my concern about there's just, and you weren't here for a lot of it.
Yes, I do.
I was not,
I
we
do.
didn't prioritize or go through
Sure.
to determine. So thank you.
did you have something?
I just wanted to mention with the Penn State lease, the fire department membership was always part of that with the township. And I know the last couple of years, they've had issues with that. So I just wanted to make sure that that would stay in there.
Like, you mean that they gave membership to the?
If anybody in the fire department, or if they treated anybody from the fire department and, gave them a trip to the hospital,
Oh, I
whatever,
see.
they would,
Was that
whatever the insurance didn't cover, they would let go.
Was that family coverage?
I believe it was just the active firefighter.
Okay. Well,
With it,
we'll make a note and we'll make
yeah,
sure.
we haven't changed anything in the agreement. It's exactly the way it was 5 years ago when I signed it. back then.
But we'll remind them of that, Tom. Thanks for bringing that up.
And they used to have memberships that they go out and ask you to sign up. I don't recall getting